The Supreme Court has declined to let the Biden administration's controversial Title IX rewrite go into effect while legal proceedings continue. The 5-4 decision left intact a lower court's ruling which blocked the Education Department from enforcing the rule in these 26 states. And that rule would have gotten rid of over 50 years of protections for female students by allowing biological males to compete in girls' sports and use girls' locker rooms and bathrooms.
Hey folks, Dale Jackson here for Yellowhammer Now. Let's talk about the similar campaign strategies of one Shomari Figures, the Democratic candidate in AL-02 here in the great state of Alabama, and Kamala Harris. The strategy is don't say anything. If somebody asks you a question and you have a belief that is damaging to your poll numbers, just don't say it. Pretend you don't believe anything and hope that people won't try to pin anything on you. Here's a perfect example. Title IX. We have a situation in this country where there is a group of people who right now are trying to reach out to dudes when their entire political philosophy over the last, 8 years has been that dudes can be women if they want, and if they want to punch women in the face in an octagon or dunk on them on a basketball court or swim with them in a pool or compete with them on a volleyball court, it doesn't matter. Because as long as they say they're women, then they're women. And it actually gets dumber than that. All you have to do is look at Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris even went as far as saying if you murder somebody and then you go to jail and then you decide that you don't like men's prison, so you're a woman, they will take you, give you a sex change, and send you to a women's prison. Now, maybe you actually do think you're transgender. That's fine. But should the taxpayers be paying for it? And should they be paying for it if you're an illegal immigrant? Kamala Harris says yes.
He murdered a father of 3, sentenced to life in prison. Kamala Harris pushed to use tax dollars to pay for his sex change.
I made sure that they changed the policy so that every transgender inmate would have access.
It sounds insane because it is insane. Kamala was the first to help pay for a prisoner's sex change.
The power that I had, I used it in a way that was about pushing for the movement, frankly, and the agenda.
Kamala's agenda is they, them, not you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
But what does Shomari Figures say? Well, it's interesting because Shomari Figures was asked about Title IX, not as controversial as what I'm talking about right here, but instead when it comes to college sports and taking away opportunities from actual women, biological women, he was asked about that. And he did 2 things. Oh, this is just a right-wing ploy, non-answer, and then refuse to talk to AL.com about it, of all people. AL.com? Could they be any more friendly to Shomari Figures? It's impossible. They have been outwardly hostile to Caroline Dobson and every other Republican in this state. That's why they are a sports blog with a liberal bias, and he wouldn't even talk to them. Why? Because everyone knows Shomari Figures has the position of national Democrats, of Joe Biden, of Kamala Harris, and that is, hey, gender is whatever you want it to be at whatever moment you want it to be, and anyone that says anything different is just a hater and a monster. And again, I'll remind you, he would not speak to AL.com about this. Why? Because the position is damaging. If they refuse to answer it, it's because they know the answer they're giving is bad, and that goes for Republicans as well. Here's what you should do. Say what you believe what you say. And that goes for Republicans as well. But in this particular case, Shomari Figures' non-answer is an answer. Just like Kamala Harris. Here's a perfect example. Tie these things together. Kamala Harris would not talk to Time Magazine, of all things. She's out there running around talking about how Donald Trump is hiding. Well, he's giving hour-long interviews on Fox News the day she says that Donald Trump is out there hiding, and she won't talk to Time Magazine, an entity that even Time Magazine admits Donald Trump gave 90 minutes of interviews to. If they're not talking to you about what they believe, then what they believe is something that they know you will not like. And think about that. Democrats have decided it is better for them to not tell you what they believe than to fight it out in the arena of ideas. They'll smear their opponents. Caroline Dobson, Shomari Figures' opponent in this race, the Republican, the other day was called the descendant of slave owners. Isn't that has anything to do with anything? And oh, she's rich, and Shomari Figures isn't. It's entirely ridiculous. They cannot win in the arena of ideas, so it is smear, 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 smear. And if they're asked a direct question and won't answer it, their non-answer is the answer. And on Title IX, on transgender stuff, on what is a woman, Their inability to answer the question is the loudest answer to the question you will ever get.